Check, 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 check. Yeah, I'm transmitting audio, it says. So.
We hear you.
Oh, good.
We're live.
Good. Well, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, cycling fans. You are here just less than 5 minutes now from the start of Zone F of the CVR World Cup League spring season. This is week number 4, and things are starting to take shape. I'm Dr. Chris Haskell, joined, as always, by the fabulous Frank Garcia and many others. We're going to bring you a great story, but what do we have in store for you today? Well, I'll tell you. This is the London Triple Loop. I even got to the origins of the Triple Loop, and I'll tell you about that in just a little bit. But there are 2 crazy tough climbs here. It's an early selection, we believe, in this just over 40-kilometer circuit, right? 544 meters climbing, 1 lap. 2 big bumps in the middle of this thing, as you see on the chart here, right? Climbing up over 700 feet for the first one. This is Zone F, and this is who you need to pay close attention to, Lars Peikenbrink. He had an outstanding race last time, the young man showing us everything that we should know about Germany. And, of course, the champion's champion, Kerry Conabear, who had another amazing weekend this last weekend in Los Angeles. But Zone F is going to give you so much stuff. We see names that you know very well. Kai Barrett, Owen. We've got Adam Zimmerman in here from Team Draft. They are going to look to do some great work. Greg Leo, the man himself, the comedian on the bike. He is going to show them that there's no funny business today, no laughing matter. And we'll talk about his experience over the weekend a little bit more too. But this is it, 1 minute and 40 seconds to go. This is going to be a nice and exciting race. Now, just to give you a sense of where things left off. In this race last week, it was an exciting first lap. Most of the strongest riders staying in that lead group. Now, in this one, you'll remember that in that lead up, there is a long way before we start these climbs. This group is probably going to stay together and probably play it pretty safe and close to the vest as they go. But maybe, just maybe, somebody will jump out and try to take advantage of the relatively slow start. Give themselves an advantage, maybe up through Trafalgar Square. Maybe give themselves a little advantage here or there. Escape off the front with 1 or 2 unnoticeables and maybe make this about them today. And not Kai Barrett, Greg Leo, or any of the other great racers, Adam Zimmerman included. Okay, with 30 seconds left, here's what you can expect to happen when the gate drops. This is a long run out, but no one wants to get left behind, so there'll be a mad, crazy scramble. There are 53 riders in this men's group. The women's group is starting just a couple of minutes later. They'll be just in a different spot in the course. We'll call both of these. We want to see how Kerry Conabear does. So, Barrett, good luck all. That's what he says, jumping on the eyes of Owen, making sure that he says the same thing. That's right. That's right, Kai. You do good work there. There was a little bit of banter this morning during the C race about hair and good hair. And, well, Kai's good at other things. He doesn't have a lot of good hair, but we get the big jump, and this is exactly what we expect and we see every day. But it is not as crazy strung out as it usually is. People really kicking it up, making sure they've got that velocity, dropping those trucks to make it a little bit easier. They can't keep them. But Kai Barrett decides he's going to animate this thing from the very start. My goodness, a big kick. Is he really going that hard? Whoa, a little attack over the top. Owen from the UK says, let me show you how it's done, Mr. Barrett. The UK, of course, being the country of origin for all of these folks. Now, we're on board with Kai Barrett. We see things from his perspective, and they've all got to drop their their power-ups before they get to that banner. After that, you can't use them. It's against the rules, and rules is with a Z, my friends. But Greg Leo now just nicely and comfortably in that group. Another Jose Cabrera we see also in that group, another one that you know really well. Okay, as we look at Mr. Leo, we get a sense of what's going on in the bikes. But here is a women's group rolling out, much smaller group, but definitely a group to pay close attention to. Rachel Ruby Zambrano in that group, just a little bit late out of the gate. She's trying to jump and make sure she's on her way back. Vicky Whitelaw, that name that we called many times last week, Sandra Deegan, Lauren McMurdy, all of these riders are doing their best to stream this as well. If you want to see these different riders, wow, this is a fast start from Whitelaw. That's just not nice. That's just, they're just being cruel there at the very beginning, Vicky. No, she's probably just trying to get a nice pace, get her legs opened up, warmed up. This is a long, tough race. And the likes of Sandra Deegan could really make it difficult for someone like Whitelaw today, although Whitelaw's shown herself as a great individual time trialist and a climber extraordinaire. But Emily Joyner from the Vixen team also in a great spot here. There we see. This is what it looks like when you stream your setup. This is Cheryl Muldoon. She's a Velocity Vixen. Even her pain cave has purple. That's right. They are so committed to this color scheme of orange and purple that they decorate their pain caves accordingly. You see her in the new and approved and improved design for the preferable way that we want to drop in and see riders. This really helps us to get a sense of who they are. I like that when she wants to power up here, you'll notice she can just click the sloth, and she can sloth whenever she wants. I actually used that power up this morning instead of racing my C division, which I should have done. But we'll maybe, you know what? We won't talk about that later. That's just not how we're going to do it. Okay, so in this women's group, it seems that they are all together. Missing from that group, she's on a different path today. She's doing her best, Rachel Ruby Zambrano, making sure that she's been one of the live participants at these different races in the past, the live races. She was at London, most notably, and it was great to have her there. Cheryl was most notably in Los Angeles, the most recent one. But as they settle in here, in a few minutes, we'll get some commentary from our guy Frank to make sure that that we are calling this properly. But this is a nice group here. There she is. We get that close-up view right now on Cheryl to see the difficulty that she's in. That's the wonderful things about the tool that we can use here, be able to cut in on her as well. Okay, the overlay there where we can see it, and her setup in a nice position. Okay, now these three riders really at the top of this group that have had the most success so far. Emily Joyner, right? Cheryl Muldoon, her teammate, and Vicky Whitelaw. Now, they're not the only strong riders in this group. Lauren McMurtry doing a lot of really good work at different events. Now, she found herself in the tail half of this section last time. There was a cagey little attack. She got separated a little bit. And while she's a very, very fast rider, a very powerful rider, she did not and was unable to find herself where she wanted to be, which was in that lead group. Now she turned it into a different race. She knew that she wasn't going to hang on with the rest of them. At that point, she wasn't going to chase them back. Vicky Whitelaw and her collective posse was a little bit too fast, but she knew that she could get as many points out of that as she could. She stayed strong, and she is still in a great spot in the overall standings. We'll revisit those standings here in just a couple of minutes. But as we talk about this overall race, she is one that you want to pay close attention to. She streams every week. She's very popular. She gets those 5 points. Guess who doesn't get those 5 points right now, unless she started streaming this week? Vicky Whitelaw. So she's in an uphill battle, Vicky is, to get as many points as she can. There she is. She's a strong, strong racer, but this is a participatory sport, right? We like to see our racers, and we want to make sure that they are all represented as much as possible so that the fans can fall in love with this sport. That's why I had this conversation with some friends the other day. Like, why does my camera have to be in the perfect spot over on the left side and a certain percentage? Because we want people to be fans of what you do. That's why. The mad scientists behind CVR want to make sure that you can be seen and loved. So get a camera, point it at yourself, set up an overlay. It's not too hard to do. And then get out there and ride and let people cheer for you like they want to cheer for you. Okay. As we're looking at this women's group, I know we'll check in with the men in just a moment. Sandra Deegan in a great spot here, not doing too much work on the front of this group. She just kind of drifts there. At Katie Fortier from Canada, also in this group, got separated last time on that very first climb. I would really like to see the fireworks wait just a little bit with this women's lead group until they hit one of those big climbs. Fortier is now just a little bit. She's bouncing around here. The watchers in Zwift not maybe able to give us everything that we want to see. Okay, Zambrano also just a little bit further behind, sitting at about that 2 minute and 15 mark behind this group. She set her own pace. She's going to have her own good day, but she gets points. She's been doing this race long enough that she knows how to get those points. Very good. Okay, so Emily and the rest of her crew, just making sure that they are with Team Experimental's Vicky Whitelaw. Actually, that's not Team Experimental. That's Alienware. That's a different kind of deal. All right, jumping in with the men's field. On board with Greg Leo, the mad scientist himself. There is just a little bit of just rookery, tomfoolery, shenanigans happening at the front of this group. And right now, it's Don McPhail, Team PTZ from Canada, pushing to the front there. No panic on the face or avatar of Adam Zimmerman, of Frank Deal. There's Frank right there, making just sure he stays in this group. This is what you got to do at this point. The action is going to come at the climb. Now, as I mentioned before, you may want the opportunity to really break this thing up, but they're going to take the long circuitous route to come to this first climb. They're going to keep just punching down the road here. In future weeks, we're going to have the telemetry that you've come to know. There's Greg Leo. That's right. He's connected to what's going on here. Look at that. I want to point out that over the weekend, he was riding so hard that he actually pulled his fabulous headband down over his eyes and rode without being able to see anything. He and his two team draft teammates were all in that Saturday event there in Los Angeles. Live event, the E-Crit, one of the many live ways that you can watch this type of cycling. It was fun to see. He is racing out there with Team Draft, and there are plenty of them. There is Kai Barrett. He has a different kind of hair. We're not going to compare his hair. In fact, he's so manly, he doesn't even need to wear a jersey top. He's all bibs all the time. Inside, outside, doesn't matter. Bibs. He wears bibs to work. He wears bibs to church. Kai Barrett is bibs. Captain Bibs. We got Modi Pekelny also in this group. Lots of names you know very well if you watch any of this virtual cycling business. Yeah, they're all there, the people you want to pay close attention to. Now, Modi Pekelny was riding for Team Vision, of course, was one of the finalists in Los Angeles, and he made that event, came in as part of the development group, and then afforded himself an opportunity to race really, really well. People didn't trust him because he was too dang fast. You don't need that business. But as you look around, you notice a lot of these different names. In just a second, I will check in and give you some details on the standings of these riders. There's Frank Deal right there, Deschutes Brewery jersey on his back. You know, there's a rumor that he doesn't wash that in between races. It's his lucky jersey. And now he lives in a neighborhood where no one else is there. It's very, you know, kind of post-apocalyptic because that jersey stinks so bad. I do not know if that's in fact true. We'll find out maybe at a later time. And find what's up. Okay, a couple more things to point out to you relative to this group. Coming into this race, there was a battle for that first place spot, and there are plenty of folks in there that deserve to be in there. You can find out any of these details over on cycleview.cvrworldcup.com, and you can actually look at these live race results. Okay. Now, as we look at this, coming into the race today, the season points really were in the favor of our guys here at the front. Greg Leo, the highest average points in the races he's done of 104. He's always near the top, Greg Leo. He's always streaming, and we appreciate that. And Kai Barrett right behind him. They are the top two in the men's group. David Talbot, who's also streaming today, and of course, Frank Deal, all in there within 5 points of one another. Now, that will balance out as the season goes on. Maybe people miss some races. In the overall points, right, Greg Leo is doing very, very well. Adam Zimmerman is just a couple of races behind, but he's probably going to have success coming into this, especially as he starts to stream a little bit more. Adam Zimmerman, a fantastic performer in Los Angeles, winning a couple of stages, actually taking the qualifier, which was great. Also in this men's A group, Hugh Williams, Adam Ornells, Adam Zimmerman, who I mentioned, James O'Daniel, and Grumpy Pat. We'll find out who that is a little bit later. I'm not quite sure. Of course, Chris Olsen and Matthew Brandt, those are names that you can expect to see in that group. But also at the top of that B group, Monty Pekelny is leading all comers right now, both in heart rate and in overall points. Steve Smith also streaming today over on the CycleView site, cycleview.cvrworldcup.com. Don McPhail probably should be a B rider, holding right up there at the front of those points as well. Not in first position right now, but in that women's group, we see that we've got Cheryl Muldoon in first place, really tied for all intents and purposes with Lauren McMurtry, who we're looking at right now, Vicky Whitelaw in third. Now, Vicky has won some of these races, but again, there are bonus points for streaming. And so we never get too far away from just that idea that streaming adds value to, honestly, people wanting to race. All right, we'll check in on the social media, find out what people are saying right now, and then we'll check in with our guy Frank when we have a moment to discuss what is going to unfold in this race. These are the early stages where things are just pretty mellow, and while there may be a couple of token attacks, this is not where you can get your maximum benefit or advantage. So as we look at just some of the people kind of commenting in, we've got BJ Alfonso saying, go Don, go Sandra, hi Chris. Okay, so it's pretty much dominated by BJ at this point. That's great. We appreciate you being here, BJ. We always know that you would root on your athletes. There we look at these different riders, including Lauren McMurtry, including Cheryl Muldoon, as we check in on this women's group. Now, no one off the front. Vicky Whitelaw just biding her time, maybe treating this as a warm-up lap. They are 8 kilometers into this 40-kilometer race, and they're moving pretty quickly, 46 kilometers an hour. It's only 40 kilometers. They're probably going to get this in under an hour, you would think. But 2 big climbs up ahead as they come through this very unique section of London right here. They're kicking past the park. They're about to come down to the big corner, and then things get interesting. So this triple loop. So I had a question at the beginning of the week. I wanted to know about this triple loop, right? It incorporates all these different spaces, and it is not necessarily a standard course, really. It just takes one course, as a potential here, and then a second course. It's a really interesting series of turns. So I sent a message to John Mayfield over at Zwift, who is the lead designer of this amazing virtual world. And I said, so who came up with this idea? And his response was actually pretty interesting. I'll tell you about that in just a second. I understand there's some fireworks happening right now in the men's. We don't want to get too far from them. A little bit of attack off the front. Not sure if this is going to stick or not. Zimmerman pushing the pace, but they wrap around him very quickly, not letting him get away. But in these instances, we can have some stuff off the back. Here's just a little bit of that push there as the Deschutes Brewery-clad Frank Deal tries to get closer to the front, make sure that he doesn't get separated from this group. But you'll notice there's already a little flotsam and jetsam off the back of this group, a couple who just could not hang on and find themselves now a minute behind the group. When you're in the tail of the comet in just a powerful beast like this, it is super difficult to catch back on. In fact, the aerodynamics will never favor you. You have to be an obscenely strong athlete to be able to do that. I mean, and the guy who would know as much about supremely strong athletes is the guy, Frank Garcia, who I think knows more supremely gifted athletes than any of us. Is that fair?
I doubt that seriously. I know the extremely people who think they're extremely gifted athletes. How's that? I know a few truly gifted athletes, but around in my circles, we're a little pudgier, but we still talk a good game. Couple of things that you're looking at here. You saw Zimmerman going off the front there. Zimmerman is the winner of the major that we just had in Los Angeles at the end of March. Took home a cool $7,800 from his victory there in terms of a prize purse. And what you see him doing here is Draft is this great team, and they are looking to get Greg Leo, I believe, who on average is leading the league. So if you sort of go out there and you look at the point standings right now, because they have an additional week in, you're going to see David Talbot and Frank Deal, just 1 point separating them at the top of the league. But on average, you've got Greg and Kai, who are very, very close on average. Greg's got a little bit of an average here, a little bit of an advantage on the average. But you've got the American flag that you see there on Adam Zimmerman's back. So that indicates that he is the U.S. national champion, Zwift champion. And he is out here riding in support of Leo. So Leo's sort of all in Zone F, looking to get a bid to the next in real life event in Vancouver. I'm not sure Adam knows this or not, but the prize purse keeps building for CVR World Cup. We've got tremendous momentum. It will be over $10,000 to the winner in Vancouver.
What?
And so, yeah, so exciting stuff. Lots, large prize purses for people who are riding their physical bikes connected to a digitization device that injects them into a virtual world, sort of a la Ready Player One. And so
very Ready Player One, yes.
Yeah. So it's really cool stuff, and getting lots of people to come out and watch that sort of stuff and be excited by it. And you'll see also with so what you see Adam's out doing is just sort of putting the hurt on everybody else. You got a couple of really strong riders, and he's riding in support of Greg. And so he'll be asking, they'll be in a team car, and he'll be asking Greg, how you feeling? And Greg will be, I feel really good right now. And Adam will go to the front and he'll just pound everybody so that everybody else gets to not feeling so well. But he'll be always checking on his teammate. Greg, how you feeling? I'm not feeling so hot right now. And Adam will come right off the front and sort of sit back and relax and let Adam sort of recover. So they're going to work together as a team. Today you see sort of that black with the red stripe down the back, sort of reverse raccoon, if you will.
Yes.
I'm sure I'm going to hear from the guys at Draft. On
yes,
the,
you
on
are.
Reverse raccoon. I have now, because I'm going to call him that, pretty much from here on out. But you see 2 or 3 jerseys, at least 3 jerseys in this lead pack. So they've got numbers. They can work together as a team. And this is a team sport, just like cycling is in the real world.
It is exactly a team sport. And the numbers there really benefit Team Draft right now. They want to get Adam Zimmerman and their other compatriots as high as they can. As we're looking at Frank Deal right here, you'll notice the X next to his name over on the right side for you esports fans. That is an indication of his team, Team Experimental, which you can also see that logo at the bottom right-hand corner of his screen. All right, checking back in with the women, we have seen a move of sorts by Cheryl Muldoon to the front of this group. There is her view right now. She is in her pain cave, which is wonderfully purpley clad. Yeah, it's a very nice one.
Yeah, I really like her pain cave. I like the whole sort of motif of her stream. And we have the ability to sort of, one of the things that we work with the athletes on and CVR World Cup League is to be able to have their brand, but also have our brand, and that's some of the reasons for the templating, so that we can make their sponsors happy and make our sponsors happy, and sort of build up this professional league. It's a new professional sport being born. You're here to watch it, but one of the reasons we switched back to the ladies here in CVR Studios, we're watching at least 10 screens at any given moment, and just keeping an eye on the action. And so what you saw there from Cheryl is that by the time we switched over to her, because we're practicing on our technology a little bit here, but by the time we switched over to her, she had actually gotten a little bit of a gap off the back, and she had to work hard to get back with the group. And she worked so hard, she kind of went right to the front of the group, and that's what you're seeing there. But we're keeping an eye on all the action, and we'll switch back and forth between the men and the women. Here you see Cheryl going hard up this hill. In terms of this little dig. Now, this little hill is, I don't know, 10 meters maybe. It's not very much at all.
Yes.
We're going to go do 10 times that, 20 times that, maybe even 30 times that on these back climbs. And so that sort of effort will last, 6 minutes, 7 minutes, 8 minutes instead of, 30 seconds.
Okay, now on board here with Rachel Ruby Zambrano. Her pain cave is pretty nice as well. She's been a finalist in the different events. Specifically, met her for the first time in London. Got to get to know her really well. I don't know that there is a bigger personality in the virtual racing, and she is on her way back recovering. This is Lauren McMurtry. We do not see her avatar in here, but we do see how much work she is putting in. She is a regular streamer to the CycleView app, and if you're watching for the first time on Mixer or even Facebook or one of the other properties, you know her intense face. Nobody communicates I'm working hard better than Lauren. She is a fabulous athlete and was a wonderful finalist in LA. Very, very cool to see her. Now, she is trying to stay on this group. She's a sprinter extraordinaire. And when we hit the climb, she may find herself in a very different place because she is built for the sprint. She has super, super long, explosive muscles, very, very tall, Lauren is. And she is going to really capitalize, I think, on the course like we have next week and the week following. She'll do everything she can to hang on a climb like this. But the likes of Whitelaw and Joyner and Sandra Deegan and Muldoon are in a place where they're probably the odds-on favorite to take these climbs and to actually move away from the rest of the group. But here's the critical thing for our friend Lauren. If she can just outlast a Sandra Deegan, if she can just outlast a Cheryl Muldoon on a climb like that, hard to do, but she can move up in the point standings, so she can get more out of her big points in the flat stages where she has every opportunity to sprint for the win, and is really the favored rider to sprint for the win in a case like that. It's great to see her. But here in this virtual world, it's starting to rain a little bit as they come by Buckingham Palace. This is the Grand Straight. We're almost to the point where they would cross under that Tour of London banner. There it is, the Prudential. And they'll pass under it, really behaving well. No one is working that hard in the group at this point. Momentary increases of overall effort. But that's you move through a group like that, you can get a PR. And she just did. Cheryl Muldoon right there. You can tell by the flow of her hair, there's a fan on her face. Well, there has to be. You're on a stationary bike. There's no wind. It's going to be hot. It's going to be difficult. And this is the kind of suffering that she's doing. If you look on her screen, you'll see up in the upper left-hand corner, right? You'll see her heart rate. You'll see the number of watts that she's putting out. You'll see her overall revolutions per minute on her bike. That data tells us a lot about how hard she's working. And she is putting in consistent effort at this point. Her heart rate will get higher, but this tells us she is doing a lot of hard work. I rode outside yesterday, Frank. My heart rate hit 185. She's quite a bit younger than I am, but 185. And that, I'll tell you, I don't care how old you are, that's uncomfortable. There is discomfort at 185. I can prove it. I have evidence. So as we focus in on this group, they've got a little bit of time before they hit the climb, but the men are starting to get closer and closer to that climb where there's going to be a major attempt to separate the group. Will it happen? Well, yeah, probably, most certainly. There's Lauren in the standard split view. We appreciate you, Lauren. That's a great, it's a great split view. Lauren is one of the fan favorites for sure. Some folks out there generally asking, can this be hooked up for Xbox? You know what? If they could get this working on the Xbox, oh my goodness, that would certainly change some things. Yeah, that'd be great. Right now it's PC, but oh, with an Xbox, you know what you can do? You can get it hooked up to an Alienware Alpha. That's about the cost nowadays of a tricked out Xbox. You can definitely get it going on one of those almost console style machines, Steam machine, if you will. Think of it in those terms. But a lot of great folks joining us on all of the different places that this is streaming. Mark Jones, still no B coverage. Oh, a little bit of criticism from Mark Jones. I hear you, Mark. That happens to be 3 a.m. in the morning for me, which is why I don't volunteer to cover it. But hey, if you know some people that can talk nonstop like your boy here, then let us know. That is a tough one to get.
Yeah, it's coming, but it'll probably be broadcast in French and English for those of you who are so inclined. So more developments coming. We're as we build the league, everyone needs to keep in mind it is global, all around the globe, and that does make for some efforts to coordinate and get everything going.
That is so true. You know, hey, quick question to those of you, the nearly 200 people that are watching right now on Mixer. This is about to get crazy. Let me just tell you what's up. But here's what he'd love to know. Throw it in chat. Are you watching on computer or Xbox or some other device that allows you to see it? Love to know just kind of how you're watching, and we'll report some of those details here. It is about to get serious, and here is why. You see the face of Frank Deal showing you that he can do a lot of work at the front of this or just in the middle of this. This is his view at home and his view in the virtual world. He's putting real power into those real pedals on a real road bike, and he's going to try to use this CompuTrainer or computerized trainer to get up the hill. Maybe he's got a Cyclops trainer. Wouldn't surprise me. Not in the least. Okay. Kuno at the front of this group right now. Frank Deal trying to just slip up there. Talbot as well to get to the front. Monson, McPhail, all the names you know. But we're watching Kai Barrett right now as he gets a little bit deeper into the RPM. I think he is poised and ready for the explosion. This is where it happens on Leith Hill, excuse me. This is the back way up, and it is a really, really tricky, tough climb. Again, more on that triple loop in just a second, but looks like Brandt from Team Draft just gives a little bit of an indication that he's going to go hard. Look at that intense face of Greg Leo. He looks like he might be wearing mascara. I would not put it past him, but that is the intense look that someone like Prince would have, or maybe Chris Angel or some other magician. That's what we think of Greg Leo. He is the magician of pain, and he is about to show you a trick. He's going to make some of these riders' hopes and dreams disappear. That's what he does. He's the magician. All right. Now, as this little bit of a gap happens right here, this is a clever little move by Brandt and his teammate Leo. Is Leo trying to catch on with him? Maybe looks like he is, but often this technique is called gapping off. What you do is you sit on the front of the group. Your teammate comes up beside you. Your teammate moves ahead of you. You don't change your pace, and they very slowly gap off the front. If you need to, I've done this many times for my buddies. Oh, big push right here. Kai Barrett decides he's going to cover this little distance, and Frank Deal tries to catch his wheel, but does not, and he's going to have a little bit of trouble catching onto the back right there, but he's going to do it. Zimmerman also, there he is, the stars and stripes on his back. He's the American champion. A ride on, thumbs up, falls onto him, and they'll slide into his back pocket here. There it goes. So that everyone around knows that he's a popular guy. The ODZ rider, Talbot, trying to stay on this as well. The selection has begun. Some of these guys like Grumpy Pat, Minnow, Kaiser, getting dropped like third period Spanish. Hasta la vista. Here we go. This is the selection happening right now, and it's going to happen on this hill. This is Leith Hill. It is painful. 5% increase right there. You can see it in the upper right-hand corner. But a few of these guys are staying right where they need to. Greg Leo on the front right now. He's the guy in charge. But they're still not going that crazy hard. They've just put in a little bit of a dig to drop some of the flotsam and jetsam off the back of this. Sorry, Don McPhail. Sorry, Jeff Griffiths. You are off the back. Grumpy Pat, not even sure who the heck you are, but you are slimming off the back there. We've got a separation. Now, the women are about to do the same thing. They're going to go under this tunnel. They're going to do what no one else has been able to do in the real world, and that is ride in the tube. This is London, the virtual London course, and they're going to ride in the underground. About to do it right now. We see from the perspective of Lauren McMurtry a little bit closer to where they are now. They're coming up to this event. We're just going to see it just a second or so behind what we just saw. Correction. They're coming through and out here. That's the train station getting ready to hit the hill. And there they go. This is the backside when you make the right turn right there and start to make this climb. She's got to grab a little bit of water as she does right there, find her happy place, right? Oh, she looks so relaxed right now. She knows what she can do on this. Little bit of kicking up at the front there. Sandra Deegan on the front. Vicky Whitelaw takes it over. Vicky Whitelaw is the strongest climber in this group. But back to the men's group, we see the fireworks kind of settling down a little bit. Looks like McKee, the Kiss rider, on the front. Now, he just came from that back position. He was a few riders back, but it looks like a few of these folks have managed to claw back to this. The pressure was taken off, and folks like Grumpy Pat, O'Daniel, and even Minnow managed to climb back on. But Kaiser, Griffiths, and McPhail still working their tails off to get back in the group. Now is the time to do it. There it is. McMurtry on the front. We see it from the view of Greg Leo. Leo from Team Draft. They see that little gap there. It's a serious gap. It's 2 seconds now as they come up closer to the top of this climb. If they get to the descent and it's 2 seconds, no chance that that guy's going to get away. McKee, definitely not enough. These guys respond very quickly. The ODZ rider right there, Talbot, moving closer to the front. He's not going to let this go. O'Daniel back in the group, as I just mentioned. And, of course, the winner of CVR LA, Adam Zimmerman from Team Draft right there. Now, Greg Leo is the man with a plan right here. He is really helping to call the shots for Team Draft. Adam Zimmerman, a very experienced and successful triathlete, one of the best in the world, very, very good. But the guy who's got real race acumen is Greg Leo. Okay, we see her trying to find a comfortable position. Look, Ma, no hands. Lauren McMurtry staying on this group, just tapping out a tempo. She knows what she can do. Heart rate climbing, 230 watts on average holding. Again, she is a muscle-bound rider. She's very tall, so her watts versus her kilos are a little bit different. She settles into a more comfortable pace, takes a couple of shifts back. What she's going to do is she's going to try to hold as high as she can for the remainder of this climb and not lose much more time. But she's actually done a nice job of putting some people in her rearview mirror. There's Cheryl Muldoon right there in her purple studio, the pain cave of purple. She sees McMurtry just behind her. This was just a few minutes ago or a moment ago. McMurtry has not started to move backwards yet. We think that there's just a little bit of a timing, and that happens on the internet, right? A little bit of a timing issue between these different folks. But she is bouncing on those pedals, trying to get with that group. You've got to do it now, Cheryl Muldoon. And I think she's going to. Emily Joyner, her teammate, just up ahead, also in the purple. Sandra Deegan sitting on Vicky Whitelaw's tail. Now, we know Vicky Whitelaw can climb. Cheryl just tries to settle in and give herself a comfortable pace. She's trying to match the overall tempo. But right there at the front, Vicky Whitelaw out of the saddle, tapping out a tempo that she knows she can sustain and that those other riders probably can't. This is one of several climbs, 2 climbs, in fact, on part of this triple loop. And she's going to find herself with a big gap off the front of this. Sandra Deegan from Team PTZ just towing Emily Joyner, the last remaining Vixen rider in this lead-ish group. But now it's 3 seconds back to Deegan and Joyner. Whitelaw, a clear commanding lead off the front of this. Now it's only 4 seconds, but that 4 seconds can grow. These two need to work together right now. They may not try to take it back all on this climb. They don't need to take it back all on this climb, but they do need to keep her in sight. They can close down something they can keep in sight, but if she gets out of sight, she'll be out of mind. You know the adage, Your mother told you 1,000 times. Lauren McMurtry now about 30 seconds back from Cheryl Muldoon. But again, she's just tapping out her comfortable pace. We see the London skyline off to the right, the virtual London skyline, where all of your Sims live, by the way. I don't know if you know that. You know, when you played The Sims, I think your Nintendogs are over there too, which, by the way, you need to feed your Nintendogs. Come on, Mixer. You know what I'm talking about. Okay, so as they get ready to kind of set this up, we have a major move at the front here. That is the real deal, Frank Deal from Team Experimental on the front of this chase. He's going to get caught by Kai Barrett. These are the men that we would expect to be throwing punches back and forth. I would love to see these men, all of these men, race in a real live event somewhere. But right now, the way it stands, only one of these riders will earn their spot to the live event in Vancouver that's coming up this June. It could be Greg Leo. It could be Kai Barrett. It could be David Talbot. It could be Frank Deal. It likely could be someone like Adam Zimmerman. But there's a few added points given to Frank Deal. 5, in fact. 5 out of 1,000, where because he is streaming, as is Kai Barrett. Greg Leo right there. Great work from Greg Leo. His camera is real close. We can see exactly how much work he's putting in. But he is sitting comfortably or uncomfortably on the front of this. You'll notice that up in his power-up, that would be near the top of the screen, on the right side, you'll see something that looks like a brown burrito. This was actually one of the first ever power-ups designed for this game. It has never been active as far as we've been able to tell, where if you played that, you actually got to...
it was. In the early days, I got to play it a few times. Yes, I actually loved it. I thought it was the most awesome thing, but it was viewed as a little too negative. But it was a great way to break away. You do a hard sprint, and you click on that. Nobody could get your draft, and you could get a good gap. It was wonderful. I really loved that power-up.
That was a good power-up. Now, what happened if you played the burrito against the draft truck? Would it nullify your burrito?
It did to some degree. That never bothered me as much because they weren't using my energy. Because normally in the draft, what you see is that energy that they're kind of using your energy, if you will. If they're using their own power up, I don't feel so bad.
Yeah, if they're using their own, yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, exactly. Well, I am a big fan of what we're seeing in this race, and so are so many of the people watching on different things. We see Zimmerman, Leo, Talbot, Barrett, Frank Deal, all just working at the front here. But Frank has gotten separated. He did as much as he can. This is not a failure, though. I want to make perfectly clear that there are micro races happening with this major race. And what has just happened is Frank Deal hung on to this lead screaming group from the very start, almost to the top of this hill. He's going to be within striking distance when they come down the other side. And that is going to be something he's going to be very, very proud of and glad to be a part of. Thank goodness. Now, as we look at what's happening here for our guy Greg Leo, he is still hanging on to this group, but it's Zimmerman who's gone off the front, and that is his teammate. So there's not as much pressure to like catch him per se. But you want these other two guys, Barrett and Talbot. Excuse me. Yeah, those two guys. The ODZ rider. Yeah.
What they're trying to do there in terms of teamwork, and I think this is interestingly played. Now, again, you have to talk to Greg and see how he's feeling, but they're trying to make the other two guys work, right? And so Greg here knows that Adam will come back for him. Adam is certainly not going to take two guys away with him in a break, and he'll come back and get Greg. And so as they get near the top here, Zimmerman will do a dig and see if he can get the other guys to do a dig, and Greg won't dig. He'll actually let the gap open up there a little bit. He doesn't want to let it open up too much, but what he's trying to do is have them burn a match. This is the expression that we use a lot in cycling, which is I had to go up and over my FTP, and once I do that, I need time to recover. Right? I can no longer just come back and sort of ride at FTP. The longer I stay over FTP, when I come back down underneath, I'll need more time to recover. If I go very high over that, the most I can do is probably 5 or 6 minutes. of that. If it's a big sprint effort, the most you can do is 20 seconds. But if you sort of do a VO2 max effort, you can sort of keep that up for 5 minutes. But after that 5 minutes, you're going to have to come back not only to FTP but below. And so that's what they're kind of trying to do. And then at some point, Greg can attack because he's got that sort of energy, that sugar in his muscles, if you will, in reserve that they don't have, that they've burnt off. And then he can make an attack and hold that for a longer period of time and hopefully dry out the gap with Adam.
The gap with Adam, yes. Now, this is the bigger of the two climbs that they have just finished now. It's some descent. Look at that face of Kai Barrett. He's got to wipe off that brow. He's got to make sure that his hair doesn't mat together with all that sweat. Probably is not going to happen for our guy today. But he has done what he came to do, which is to survive this big climb together. This tells me, with the exception of this one remaining climb, which is going to come up here, it's going to come at about the 24 kilometer mark, if I remember correctly, is exactly where it'll begin. They'll be able to fight this out. All right, Lauren McMurtry tapping out a pace that she is comfortable with as she comes close to the top of this hill. It is 2 minutes to Vicky Whitelaw. Vicky Whitelaw's dropped the other folks. We'll check in with Sandra Deegan and Emily Joyner here in a moment. But she's got another rider in her sights. A Sin from looks like that's Hong Kong. Excuse me. I always forget that one for some strange reason. And there's Cheryl Muldoon right there in that chase position, trying to catch on to Emily Joyner. Those are the two. She got a minute on McMurtry. She's still climbing. Once this climbing is over, however, you're going to be in McMurtry territory, and she's going to try to pull back that time. And a minute is a long time, but it's not that much time. Right? A minute is half of 2 minutes. Really, I like to think about it that way. That it's not that long. But Vicky Whitelaw with 23 seconds on that chase group and doing more watts per kilo. You can see that underneath their name on the right side. She is really moving away from Joyner and Deegan at this point, who have found a pace that they can continue doing, but that really it's Whitelaw who's showing why she is such a fabulous climber. She has been incredible this season and into this fourth race, but because of the way the points work, she really isn't that far ahead of anyone in her group. Those who stream, the McMurtrys of the world, honestly, the Cheryl Muldoons of the world get that 5-point bonus out of 1,000 every time they do it. And if you're only behind somebody by 4 seconds, or excuse me, by 4 points in the standings, that 5 points can just jump you right over the top. It's fabulous. And we appreciate it. This is a much more interesting esport because we can see the work of the athletes. Cheryl Muldoon right now in her purple pain cave.
And what we see here, I'm just going to follow a little bit. We're keeping an eye on the men. They're on the descent. And they've and Zimmerman's day has I think he's actually gapped Frank Deal off. We'll talk a little bit about that when we get back. But one of the things that you look at here, for instance, you have Lauren here, and she is getting caught from behind, right? So yes, this is the time I'm sort of doing this on purpose. See if we can get Lauren to go nice and hard for us through the top of the climb here, right, to stay away from the charging Japanese rider, Tanny. And I'm not sure I'm going to pronounce that correct. I'm sure it's got a little bit different pronunciation going for it as well. But in each of these, you're talking about the races when we're on a big climbing day like we are today, often the field will split up. The men's field is split as well, and we'll get back to that. And actually, if we can, if we go to 4, and we'll see. So something very interesting has happened here, and maybe we can get. We'll pick up Frank's view here a little bit in a little bit as well. But what you see here is Adam Zimmerman came back. People sat on him. Like I said previously. Greg had stored some of that energy. He kind of rolled off the front, as you were talking about earlier. You just kind of let the guy roll off. So, and the two guys followed him. But Frank Deal kind of expected Adam to go with him, and Adam didn't. Adam gapped him. And so he let a gap open up, and then Adam goes super hard. He sort of, sprints and tries to get back on. Now, what happens is Adam won't pull all the way back. And if you look at, if we're on 4 here as an example, you can just see Adam sort of being like, I'm done for the day, because he doesn't want to pull these people all the way back but Frank is making an effort here along with Minnow to get back to that group. So this will be a fun chase to watch from Frank's perspective. So we're going to go back a little bit in time and sort of watch a replay of this as you see, Frank pulling up on this, and then we'll sort of keep an eye out. There's a lot of places, a lot of people all over the place on the course today, but we're watching all of those, and we'll keep everybody apprised of that.
Now, as you were talking there, I don't know if you saw it, I spotted it. There, Adam Zimmerman, who is now moving quickly into the rearview mirror, had sent in text chat to the other competitors that, sorry, guys, I'm out. He was having issues with his trainer, mechanical bugginess, he said, and you can see that there's a variability in his power. He's very thoughtful about that. He doesn't want to be disqualified, so he is going to take it a little bit easier, and it looks like he is off the bat completely. I hope he is not out. He probably needs as many points as he can get throughout the season to keep those averages high. Certainly, it's the top 6 races and the points that you take. Top 6 finishes, so maybe he can let this one go. Maybe decide to just not finish it and pick it up. This is week 4 of 8. So, but he is the champion of LA. He's the guy who showed professional triathletes and former professional cyclists that he's the real man, and he is out of the race today.
And we see a great chase by Grumpy Pat and Frank Deal, even though they got gapped by that play. They climb back on. We're going to switch over back to the women's race just for a second. We're going to look at Lauren, and we're going to start by looking at Cheryl, who's really going hard.
She is.
She saw A-Sin go by from Hong Kong. I guess you recognize that flag. You're better at me than flags, but she tried to hang on. But I think she's highly motivated here. And again, you see Lauren is staying with Tanny, and we'll go ahead and switch over to Lauren and take a look at that. Maybe she's starting to drop off just a little bit now in terms of sticking with him. But of course, we're going to go back to Lauren and see if we can get just a little more effort out of Lauren as she goes up this hill. 173 beats per minute. She probably won't be sending me any smiley emojis anytime
probably
soon, not. Because this is where it hurts. But this is great training, and I don't even mean that from the physical perspective, just from the mental perspective. Learning to push through and find how hard you can go at any given moment. And we'll go look at Cheryl if we're not already there, and we'll see. She's really got a good rhythm here. Definitely got her game face on. It's really sort of focused on just staying in contention. Now, I think it's Vicky Whitelaw, right? Vicky Whitelaw is a former UCI pro, as I understand it, super strong lady, and we've got to reach out to her and see if we can't get her to be streaming.
Yep, she definitely has the ability to do this well.
Yeah, so exciting. We're seeing more and more of that as our sort of prize purses come up, and as we establish this new professional sport. It's very, very exciting, and so we're seeing more and more people enter. If we could switch over to the men, 8, we've got Greg Leo gapped off the back and having to make a big effort here.
Yes, he is now with the loss of his teammate. As we mentioned, Zimmerman off the back here. He is the remaining draft rider in this group. Now, this is not necessarily a team competition, but one where teams make all the difference, and there's a lot of chest pounding and flag waving that can be done there. Talbot, the ODZ rider, making his people proud, kicking it up to almost 8 watts per kilo. That's a lot of power. That'll get your Xbox running, that's for sure. Frank Deal trying to stay on his wheel. And, of course, Kai Barrett just doing what he always does. Now, Kai Barrett had that incredible sprint at the end of the week last week. Really exciting. Greg Leo now just trying to stay in. We see with all of his stuff right here that he's got a lot of fans. He's got a lot of Monster Cat playing. But he's definitely a guy that you can connect with and follow. He is a sprinter, but somehow he's climbing today. It was very, very cool. Kai Barrett in the dark place trying to catch on to the wheel of Frank Deal. And well, it looks like actually, Frank, a little bit of a gap here off the back, depending on where in time we're looking at this. But these guys all back and forth. Gosh, that can be, look at the look on his face. It is pulling the energy out of him, sapping it. He's going to try to get back on the wheel, hopes that nobody will go crazy. He's got to do more power than Talbot does right now, more power than Barrett if he's going to catch on to the back. And it's so close. Sometimes that 4 meters, 3 meters, you see it at the top of his screen, 2 meters, this is what he sees. The software encouraging him to go just a little bit more. You're almost there, brother. Oh, it's growing big again. You don't know. Bike's going the wrong direction. Close it down. Oh, that is so painful. And the look on his face says, I've just got to gather it again. The correct number of times you need to go is 1 more, right? The number of efforts required to be successful in this race, there's an easy formula for it. It's N+1. It's the current sample size +1. Frank Deal, you just need to do 1 more effort here. Does he have it in him?
I think he's going to climb back on.
I think you're right. I think he is.
What he's suffering from is Talbot, who's now backed off a little bit, and we've got Kai Barrett on the front. But these two people have formed, I think, sort of a dynamic team, if you will, Kai Barrett and David Talbot. And the reason they've done that is they said, okay, draft, like you got national champions and you've got the winner of the major, but don't come in to our house. We're the current leaders and by points, and we are going to show you that we can ride. And so you see Greg here working hard to stay in contact. But these three are sort of going mano a mano. And if we switch back to 6, you'll see Frank starts the fade. And as I say that, he gets up and he sprints a little bit. But probably it's sayonara. It's, wave goodbye. Your day's not over. You still got a lot of climbing left. You got a long way to go. But it's going to be nearly impossible for him to catch back on with what we're seeing at the front with Kai Barrett or Greg Leo, and you've also got David Talbot there, who isn't streaming, but is atop the standings at the moment. Greg wants to sort of put his stamp on it, win the day, separate himself by a couple of points here.
Okay. Wow, that is quite a bit of info. I can give you a little bit more on Vicky Whitelaw as well. Yes, 2008, 2009, 2010, and 2011 were her heydays. UCI World Race Champions. She's, of course, from Australia. We don't have as much information on her world as we may have previously. There'll be more. We'll get more info on her. We'll get her on here and streaming and set up and doing it all well. But yes, she's definitely doing some great work. And as we mentioned, our guy, Greg Leo, softening up the group, chilling at a kilowatt. That's a great line. But he's getting lots of ride-ons from folks. I'm still trying to effort on the back end with exactly who our Grumpy Pat is. That's not going to earn him any points, unfortunately. When you race with a name that is not necessarily your name, just some kind of gamer tag, it's a little bit more difficult to figure those things out. But that's how he's listed in the system as well. These racers, though, that we see in this group who will be, kind of pointing out here, have just dwindled this down to a quartet of fast riders. You mentioned the de facto teammate of Barrett and Talbot, ODZ, and of course the STW group. So, yeah.
Yeah, and if we look at Zimmerman here, he is trying to catch his breath. We're at the top of the last climb. There's one last kicker to go. And what's going to happen here is 2 are going to try and get away from 1, because if you separate on the downhill with 2, you can easily build your gap substantially. If you go off the front as 1, usually the 2 will bring you back. But you're going to see that sort of effort sort of happening here. And you see Talbot sort of making that bid. And if you're Leo, I think he's playing this coyly, so he's going to kind of let that gap open up. And Barrett says, "No, not today, thank you." I'm not going to fall for that, and we're going to try and turn the table. So Greg showing a lot of confidence there, and you see he is just pulling it right back. And if I was him, I would have kept going along with Barrett and see if we could have gotten that 2-on-1 from Talbot. But that little bit of sit down by Leo makes that pretty much impossible. When you commit to an attack, you have to commit. I often say, a lot of people think it's the effort, and I say it's the decision. If you make the decision and you fully commit to that decision, your effort follows. But if you're kind of hedging a little bit, and you kind of saw that in Leo there, he was like, okay, I'm good. I'm all back. But if they had both gone hard, they might have been able to drop Talbot there.
They might have, but it looks like these guys are in for the sprint finish. Maybe there's an opportunity for somebody to escape here at the end, but who knows? Hard to tell. We look on board here. A lot of folks. And we'll ask. We'll even throw this out there in just a second. Quick little poll here. It's going to last for 90 seconds. But who do you think is going to win this? Is it Barrett, the man from the UK who has every opportunity to be successful? Is it Greg Leo, the man whose suffer face is all over the place? Is it, in fact, Talbot, the ODZ writer? I should know how to say that. Shouldn't I? Yes.
I think you should.
Yeah. Which of those three men do you think has the best chance of doing it? You can jump in and tell us who's going to win right now. So give us a sense in Mixer of who you think that's going to win. Right at the top there, you'll be able to vote. We'd like to see who the odds-on favorite is. There are plenty of opportunities here for Talbot still to catch back onto this group, but Leo and Barrett definitely with the action at the front there. So as we consider the meaning of this race in the overall scheme of things, right, in this men's grouping here in Zone F, right, Greg Leo has been, really hovering at the front of these points. He's got more average points than anybody else, as we mentioned here, but this could very, very conceivably create a bigger gap between he and David Talbot, who is really chasing, and actually Frank as well. What's the benefit of winning this, the fourth race? Just a couple more coins in the box there.
Well, because of how CVR World Cup League is structured, different courses each week. So sometimes it's flat, sometimes it's very hilly like today. I mean, we started flat, but basically most people would consider this to be a big climbing stage because of all the climbs that we did. If you're a climber, you need to win today. Right, it's really important. So it might only look like a couple of coins in your pocket, but when you get to the flats, if you're not a good sprinter, you're not going to score well there. It's each course for each person, it's a little bit different. Things don't really become clear until the 6th week of the season. We can see who's ahead, we can certainly see who's strong, but you're not really sure of what's going to happen until you start to get into week 6, 7, and 8, when you can see full points and no longer have to sort of look at the averages and guess how people might be on different courses.
Yep.
And here we're going to watch.
Oh boy,
we're coming up and out of the thing. Barrett with a huge sprint, 17 watts per kilogram. That is massive. That is
yes.
Very, very near pro level sprints. And you see Leo here isn't responding with the same sort of fervor, which might really serve him well. But this is now all about the chase. So Greg is going to try and hold that power and. Yep. Get back on the wheel here. Now, will he just go by? It would be a good play just to go by if you think you had the power. But no, yes. Greg's going to back it off here, sort of as they did at the top of the hill. And I'm sure he'll contact me later and tell me, no, Frank, I sat up there to get Talbot to sit down as well, and then I went again, and we did indeed drop him. So there are those, you can play those, right. Different ways. I think probably Talbot just a moment of inattention or a dropout, a little mechanical at just the wrong moment. But we're going to set up here for the sprint, and I'm going to let you call it.
Well, awesome. Okay, now we saw in the last week that Kai Barrett knows exactly how to work this finish. He knows about the little dip at the end there. He's in the exact right position. Greg Leo decides he's going to really step up and see if he can trigger Kai Barrett, and he does. Will Kai Barrett come by? Because Greg Leo wants to be on his wheel. The savvy sprinter comes around him really early. Are you going to get a gap here and drop Kai Barrett? Probably not. A little bit of back and forth. Kai Barrett unloads. He's going to try to get all the way to the line. Greg Leo responds, but he's not doing the same watts. He's actually watching Kai Barrett move away from him. Leo sits back a little bit. Kai Barrett is going to come all the way to that finish line. There is no attempt now to catch on by Leo. This is going to be Kai Barrett's win. Team STW coming across the line first. Greg Leo from Team Draft coming in second. That was the sprint that he knew he could get. Greg Leo tried a little bit, but could not find it. Now, this is what it looked like. You can see the look on his face. He's looking over at those watts. He's giving everything he's got, but he's like, I can't do that. Oh, my goodness. And he just backs off and says, you know what? I'm content with second. That was a great ride, my guy, but this sprint was yours today. He gets maximum points, Greg Leo does. He's climbing his way to riding his way to Vancouver with these kind of performances. Hand throws up. Gosh, sorry, I couldn't do it. But look at that. 60 minutes and 34 seconds for this triple loop. That is pretty incredible. Very, very cool. Okay, back on board with Lauren McMurtry. She is chasing this group. She's gotten caught by a couple here. Tanny in that group also. Looks like Asin has climbed even 3 minutes ahead of Cheryl Muldoon. Time doesn't matter, only finishing position here. But Vicky Whitelaw cares about the time. She's put 2 minutes almost on Sandra Deegan, the PTZ rider. Very, very cool. This is what it looks like in her pain cave. Cheryl Muldoon climbing this hill for the last time. She's about to come up on Box Hill and go around the quick little in and out there, and then around to the big finish. 8% is the gradient right here. As her smart trainer in her purple pain cave sees that, right? That 7%, it gets harder and harder, just like riding up a real wheel, or hill, rather. Your wheel will adjust to it. This is what Emily Joyner sees. Not a single person. Sandra Deegan is 16 seconds in front of her. But Sandra Deegan's doing more power than she is right now. So Emily is not going to catch her at this pace. Just not going to happen. It looks like our women's field is kind of settled here, unless Emily Joyner can do something special and pull her back before the finish. Asin, not likely to catch Emily Joyner. Cheryl Muldoon, not likely to catch or be caught by anybody. This is what happens often on a climb like this. You have these different riders. We're going to stay with them and watch them finish these sections, and maybe not all the way down through the finish. Rachel Ruby Zambrano is about 20 minutes behind these leaders right now on this 40-kilometer circuit. We are 35.3 kilometers in. When Emily gets to the top of this hill, she'll descend to the big finish in virtual London. There she is, Rachel, just holding a steady pace here, low RPMs, getting her water. There is McMurtry. She is still climbing this hill, trying to do what she can. There she is, Lauren. You get to see what she sees on her bike. She's looking at a computer screen in front of her, for those of you who are brand new to this, and she is climbing, tapping out that pace, trying to make sense of what she needs to do to get to the top of this thing, right? Yeah.
Yeah, she's got to stay ahead of that rider behind her. This is, sort of fun that you see, right? So you see Rancaro back there, about 12 seconds. You've got Lauren, sort of hitting the climb here. And she's got to hold this power because there's this natural sort of compression that you see. And there's some interesting game dynamics happening today that I've noticed because we see sort of Rancaro jump ahead by 10 seconds there. I'm not sure what that was all about. That looks like a wormhole in the game. That's not even a streaming issue near as I can tell. So that's very, very interesting. So now, Lauren's got more about maybe trying to, climb back into that position. That's a little bit of an unfortunate thing when they just jump, they're 10 seconds behind and they jump 10 seconds in front of you. That makes for an odd sort of day. We'll take a look here at Cheryl. Cheryl's putting in a lot of effort. I really like the rhythm. Well, we got Lauren who's, going hard here. So maybe we'll go back to Lauren, see if she can sort of close this gap. and get back to Rancaro. I think it's going to be hard. That sort of a hard effort as we do this climb. It's a long way to go. We're an hour and 4 minutes into the race, and at this point, it can become difficult, right? Your legs are fatigued. They're not so much burning anymore. Lauren might beg to differ with me, I imagine, at any given point, but sometimes you just get fatigued, right? And they just don't want to turn over anymore. They're like, hey, can we go take a hot bath and maybe get a massage? And massage is a wonderful thing. Not sometimes directly after your bike race, but certainly a few hours afterwards, or maybe is really sort of optimal. I had Neil Stewart, who used to coach me, give me massages, and they was more like torture. Not long after a race, and he said it was good for me, and I think I believe him.
You think you believe him? I don't know about that. That just sounds like a lot of work. As my mother used to say, no pain, no pain, which I have to believe is absolutely correct. That has been my motto on the bike, and I actually hope to even escape for even 30 minutes to get out on the bike. It's a beautiful day here where I am as well, and these riders are making me excited to do this. Patrick Flickery says, great race, Leo. Solid work, Leo, by Alan Lowe. Claudia Baring, Leo! She spelled it that way. Leo the Burrito by Matt's Addy. So many people supporting these riders, very excited about what they're doing. Yep, very, very good. It is nice to see so many people supporting what they do. Simon Nielsen as well. It's great. Very, very great. Okay. So as we look at these riders coming over the top, we're starting to get a sense of how things are shaking out in the different divisions. Kai Barrett comes across the line first there. He gets just a little bit of an advantage. It's 1 point for this race over the finish of Greg Leo, and that's what he needs, just a point at a time here and there, hoping that Greg Leo gets separated on a climb on one of these or find himself a few spots back in a sprint. So much shakeup still possible at the top of this men's A group. Emily Joyner finally on the descent here. She's in a great spot as we look at these. She does not have as many points as some of her competitors right here. She finds herself in third position overall. Fifth position overall, because she has 2 races in the books so far this season, where some of the others have just a couple more. Now, that'll balance out. We take those top 6, and you can look at these numbers anytime over on cycledata.cvrworldcup.com. You can look at these different events. But Lauren McMurtry still in a position, regardless of coming back to where she is in the race here, in a better position to finish. Here's why. The top position today gets 1,000 points. That's Vicky Whitelaw, the former UCI professional. Then you've got 998 points available, right? That's going to be the second over the climb here, right? 998 will definitely go to Sandra Deegan. Now, you've got the 996 points. It'll go to Emily Joyner. Great. That's fabulous. Then you'll get 995. That goes to Lauren McMurtry. But I'll point this out. She gets 5 additional points because she's streaming, as does Cheryl Muldoon. So instead of getting 1,000 points like the winner did, she actually gets, well, in this case, 1,000 points, right? Lauren McMurtry finishing in 5th position overall here. The streaming definitely helps. It is one of the characteristics of this esport, and a powerful one to boot. The men's division starting to shape up a little bit more too. Overall, Matthew Brandt finds himself in that 3rd position, although 7th in the lineup on the day. Greg Leo now climbs himself to 5th position overall in the points. But Frank Deal, number 1. Kai Barrett, number 6 overall points in this bracket today. Falling a little bit further behind, unfortunately, is the man who was the leader on the course for a little while today, but had to pull himself out, and that's Adam Zimmerman, not represented in the points today. This could be his throwaway week, right? He doesn't have to count this one, but he definitely has to have great finishes in the others to climb himself and qualify himself back to that position in the big race which is of course the face-to-face race in Vancouver, British Columbia. Now, I have a question for you, and then I'm going to follow up on something I teased at the very beginning here. You mentioned that in the and as we're waiting for a couple of these women to finish. Thank you for joining us. Lots of great questions out there on Mixer and on Facebook, and lots of love everywhere. Is that we've got a prize purse for this one that is actually going to break any previous virtual cycling or physical cycling esport purse titles. The winner you mentioned is going to get over $10,000.
Over 10K in Vancouver, which is at the end of June.
And so, just for perspective, what did the most recent one in Los Angeles, a little over a month ago? What was the overall? What was the top prize purse there? The top prize winner.
I'm sorry.
You don't remember? Okay.
No. What was the question? I was slightly distracted. My son is actually graduating soon, and I did the ultimate faux pas of seeing a ping, text come in from him, which I normally ignore during broadcasts, but I picked up on that. So please repeat your question, and I'll be happy to answer.
Well, here's what I'll say is that the question was, so this one's going to be 10K. The top prize in Los Angeles actually went in the women's field, not the men's field, but they were very similar. That's one of the great things about these events. The women's field has equity with the men's field. It's not just it's even. But as folks can contribute to the overall prize pool, can send cheers and things like that, and actually add to the overall prize pool, you have a ever-growing prize pool, and it happened to be bigger on the women's side. What was the top prize in Los Angeles? Roundabout. You don't have to give us to the penny. You might be muted. I might be muted.
I tell you, I am discombobulated today. That's too funny because I actually turned on my mute to talk to you. So I thought I was muted previously, but $7,800 in Los Angeles. We've done these in Las Vegas, London, Paris. I think the top prize was I'm not actually sure. Maybe only like 2,500, $3,000. So each time we do one of these, it builds. We've got the momentum. A lot of that is building as we go. So really exciting times.
They really are exciting times. Absolutely. We mentioned it last week. We seem to mention it every broadcast, but it's totally worth saying as Emily finishes here. And really, this is for the Mixer crowd and the rest of this, folks. This as as esport, really, it is esport. I mean, we're competing in a virtual world in a game space. The only difference is our controllers are actual bikes. So the power you put in is the power, but there's still plenty of strategy. There's a meta that has to be followed here, or a meta that leads to great success for many of these riders. She's getting ready to come around here. There she is, right there, Cheryl Muldoon. I'm just getting a little bit of some details in from some folks that I may have mischaracterized these different riders. Cheryl and Lauren are actually very close in height. I may have described Lauren as being like 11 feet tall. I want to apologize to everyone, to Lauren's family, to her second grade teacher, to the people who work at the Starbucks near her house for my mischaracterization of her, and apology. But that they're actually quite a bit closer together. Sorry, back to this topic that we're talking about, the equity. I mean, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money to show up and win a virtual bike race. It's also a lot of work to show up and win a virtual bike race. But as we've talked about on previous broadcasts, when we were in LA that very same weekend, a women's professional race attached to one of the biggest men's professional races in the world, every single person who competed at CVR World Cup LA made more than the top finisher on the women's pro circuit. And that That should be a shot across the bow, honestly, to the women's pro circuit. And trust me, I understand the finances of these things. They are very, very difficult. It's difficult to find sponsors. It's difficult to raise money. We are incredibly privileged to be able to be in a space like this with the support of Cyclogent and CycleView. Certainly, all those who are involved, CycleOps, right? PowerTap. Garneau, everyone who contributes to this series. And of course, all of you, hey, I'm talking to you, Mixer, Facebook, who actually cheer these racers on, who cheer for these women, cheer for these men, and actually contribute to the overall prize pool. Very compendium style in a way. So that is really, really cool to see. So as we're coming up here, Cheryl is going to be the fourth finisher here. She's going to get quite a few points. Maybe let's just look ahead a little bit and talk. Actually, if we've got it ready, we may not. I forgot to mention we may have a replay of the big finish here. It was not a photo finish. Unless that photo included Kai just flexing his muscle and kissing it, showing everybody that he loves his strong muscles. I don't know that photo would, that'd play well on Facebook, but be a nice avatar image. All right, here we go. This was the big finish at the end here. Greg Leo testing him out, coming around early, and then Kai Barrett comes around and empties the 40 of NOS, of rage, right onto the ground. And in tribute to Greg Leo, who is no longer with us. And by no longer with us, I mean he's completely off the back. Gives it up. 2.2 watts per kilo. He comes across here at the very, very end. Powerful, powerful finish by Greg Leo. And still not enough. That's the man right there, Kai Barrett, who takes it. This is what we saw from Leo's perspective. My favorite thing to watch is Leo's face. Great performance. Wonderful hair. I wish I had your hair, bro. He just looks and says, I can't do that. He's got way more. And here it comes. That frustrated, the head shake, the arm wave. That's it, bro. The shrug. Yeah. Wipe my face. What am I going to do? That's what he says. And that is a good place to be. You deserve to be there. You were just right there with Kai Barrett. You're still going to get lots and lots of points. You're still in a great spot in this race. The big finish, of course, as she comes across, Cheryl Muldoon, very proud to finish. This is not her favorite kind of course. She tends to favor the flat with a little bit of rollers. She does not want to chase someone like Vicky Whitelaw all around the planet, and she is glad to be done. Allez, allez, allez. That is what we say when you climb, and she wore that today for a little bit of extra oomph. Great job, Cheryl. She does really, really great work as we do all of these races. All right. We asked for go ahead. Yeah, jump in.
As luck would have it, Chris, Lauren's feed, we lost it coming in. Like I said, we pull in a lot of feeds from around the world. That one,
yes,
we lost it. We won't get to see Lauren finish today, so we'll wrap this up, talk a little bit maybe about the sponsors, give them a little love, and then sign off for the day.
All right. If you are here for the first time, please just go up there and click that follow. You'll know when these racers are racing again. And we've only introduced you to 1/8 of the overall racers in this broadcast. It's a worldwide event. In a little over 2 hours, a little less than 2 hours rather, we are going to do this again with a different group of racers, different group of men, different group of women. Oh, so much love coming in from Greg Leo coming to us through all of the chat channels. We got to love us some Greg Leo, and we've got to get him off of Snapchat. That is not going to be okay. This is Zone F. This is Chris Haskell and Frank Garcia. Ceres, CycleOps, Peaks Coaching Group, Cyclogent, of course, PowerTap and Garneau, all critical in helping to bring this broadcast, to be able to really to bring these folks from all these different places and make it happen all over the world. So thank you very much. Thank you for your likes. Click that follow, and let's continue this conversation in a little bit of time. We will bring the next group up here, all vying for that opportunity to get to Vancouver, and they're coming soon. So thanks a lot for watching. On behalf of Frank, I'm Dr. Chris Haskell. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.